Welcome back to the Stack Crypto Channel. It's your boy Present.
And your boy Double O.
Ooh, Double O. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great, doing great.
All right. Our topic today, right? We jump right into it. Is money, power, and Bitcoin. How is that for a topic?
Interesting times, man.
You know, on the last show we did, we spoke a little bit about money, right? And
A little bit, huh?
yeah, I mean, a little something. You know, you cannot cover it all in one video. You know, because money has come a long way. You know, it's evolved, it's changed. A lot has happened to money, right?
Yep.
But all we can do is try to gather the basics, and hopefully that helps us to get a grip of this whole money thing, get an understanding of money. And I think one of the reasons why it's very important to be doing that right now is because of the current situation we find ourselves in, right? Yeah. It's not just the U.S. economy, but we know now that the global economy is in turmoil.
Yes, sir.
Right? It's shaky. And so we all have to find a way to survive, to put it lightly.
The world is coming to an end. Run.
Hey, you could look at it that way, but you know, I mean, again, it could come to an end if we do not educate ourselves. That is one of the reasons why we're so passionate about what we're doing here, and I think we are really looking at the future and trying to see how we can best position ourselves, right, to be in the best position in the future. And looking at where we are, I would say that is digital assets. And that's why we do what we do, trying to build wealth through digital assets.
Stack, baby, stack.
Stagnation, sir. You know what I mean? So money, power, and Bitcoin. Last time when we kind of went over this, and we're going to link the previous video which we did talking about money at the top there. We kind of came to this understanding that it has to be hard money, right? It has to be divisible. It's a store of value, right? Medium of exchange and unit of account, right? And it has to have certain characteristics like being divisible, easy to carry. What else? And there's a bunch of others, right?
Yeah,
it has to be able to stand that test of time. So
it has to be accepted by the people. That's the biggest.
Yes,
right?
It has to be universally accepted as well.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. I want to because we're going to be diving into power today, and kind of linking that with money as well. So I wanted to start with this quote here from a 20th century philosopher, right? The man went by the name Bertrand Russell, and he says power is the ability to produce intended effects. It's straightforward. It's very simple.
I think we shouldn't add to it. We should just let that simmer.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you say to that?
Yeah.
What else can you say to that, right? Because when you
let it simmer.
Yeah, when you look at that, it really gives you it's a very clear understanding of everything that's happening with money. What do you think?
We've been doing a lot of reading, and as we further our reading, it just seems to be that there is a connection,
right,
between money and power.
This is true, and all of these things are connected to some cycles.
Yeah.
Right.
That's basically what the best of them are saying out there, and you just don't want to be like in some kind of a chamber chain and you just listening to the same thing over and over. So we literally try to dig it from every single source, and it's basically saying the same thing. Money and power is connected. So I like to give a quick example, right?
Right.
So I was in Nigeria over the holidays in December, and quite interesting. I don't have that much money, but I have to say I was able to buy power.
Explain.
So we had this event going on, and we needed officers, police officers, to help protect, guard, block roads and stuff like that.
Of course.
If I had the money, and literally, I could pay officers to do what I wanted them to do.
Access.
Money gives you access.
Money gives you access.
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, and I think that that is good because you have these resources, and now you can now use it to exchange for services that you may need, right?
Yeah.
But then there is I guess at what point does it cross over to a point where it becomes bad? Because a situation like that, money is good. You definitely want to have money, right? Because when you have money, you can get access, right? Simply put, like you said. But at what point does it become bad, right? Because say when we moved from that era of trade by barter,
Mm-hmm.
right, to just now representative money, let's call it that way, right? So whether it was gold or whatever else it may be, notes,
Mm-hmm.
we started noticing that at least history shows that there was a trend of people trying to accumulate as much money as possible, right? Trying to accumulate as much resources as possible. And along with that came power,
Yeah.
right? So, which is, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when you look at it, it's not that horrible. But we do know that we're also currently in the situation we're in right now because there is this massive disparity, right, in the distribution of wealth, right? So you have, I mean, people talk about the top 1%. The top 1% has a lot of money, all right? That's cool. But, those people are like maybe doing like anywhere from like 1 million to maybe 5 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
But then the gap between the top 1% and the 0.01% is
Talk about the guys that
staggering.
run the system.
Exactly. It's staggering, right? And then, it starts narrowing down to certain groups of people, right? Whether it's, how would you say it? Would you say someone like the Hollywood crew? Would you say that's like a lobby group, if you will?
That's a
Is
good
that what we
topic.
call them? A lobby group?
Well, when you accumulate power and you have
Hmm.
access, then you can
Yeah,
lobby to get whatever you want.
yeah, this is true. But then when you have power in the hands of a small group of people like that, well, when you have a massive amount of money in the hands of a small group of people like that, right? And a good example here would be, uh, say, like the Kim.com situation, right?
Yeah.
Where you had a small group of people that kind of came together to influence the government to
Mm-hmm.
do certain things that would typically not be normal, right? So, and for those who do not know, just so we can clarify what we're talking about here, I think this was back in 2012, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it was around 2012. So we had this gentleman by the name of Kim. I'll just give you a quick rundown of the story. We can leave a link in the description as well if you would like to learn more about it. So this guy Kim started a. This is I don't know if you remember Mega Upload. Do you remember Mega Upload?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, Mega Upload was like it was the bomb, man. You can go there and watch free movies and things like that. So you had Mega Upload, you had LimeWire and other things like that. But when Kim launched this Mega Upload thing, just because he wanted to share files with his friends, he he created this website. He could upload videos. His friends could download it somewhere else. And then people started uploading movies on there, and other people started downloading those movies, which affected that movie industry for sure. And the movie industry got bent out of shape. And these guys essentially, and this was the what do you call them? Is it the MPPA? I think it's the I believe it's called. Just let me check the name here real quick, because I believe it was the MPAA. Yeah, so it's the MPAA, right? This would be your Movie Production Association of America. Is it Movie Production Association of America? Yeah, Motion Picture. Sorry, dang, I messed that one up. So it's Motion Picture Association of America, right? Led by some guy named Dodd. Is it Chris Dodd? It was. And this is like your Walt Disney, Paramount Pictures, Sony, and whoever else makes movies. But this guy's threatened to cut funding to the government if they didn't do anything about it. And from there, the government essentially engaged in some sketchy activity, leading to getting warrants to arrest someone in New Zealand. Right? This was just right, and this was like mainstream, right? This was all over the news. But then you gotta ask yourself, which super dramatic arrest, by the way. They came in with like helicopters, 75 officers. It was just, I mean, full blown attack on this guy's house because he created a website. Mind you, that same concept is what we know today as cloud storage, YouTube,
Yep.
Netflix,
Yep.
right? Spotify,
Amazon. Yes.
same thing,
Yep.
right? And you could say, well, those guys could have just learned from the situation and then adapted their business model. But then they choose to exercise this power, and even which led to, I mean, I don't want to say corruption, but it led to like
I mean, it was
questionable tactics.
international. It was international corruption, both by New Zealand and the US.
Yeah. But that's the thing, because at the time when they did this, right, there was no there was no copyright laws, right? Because they called it secondary,
Mm-hmm.
just some secondary copyright, secondary
Arrangements. Yeah.
infringement, if you will, secondary distribution copyright infringement, and there was no law about it, but they still did what they did, right? And so you see how power and money can corrupt in that situation,
Yep. Yep.
right? And these are the same things that bring us back to the same places that we're finding ourselves in right now, because this is not the first time things like this have happened.
Mm.
And I think the biggest thing right now is for us to be able to educate ourselves on, you know, what has happened in the past with the situations and how we can change it moving to the future. Because
Yeah.
I think we have a unique opportunity right now. How do we capitalize on it?
But it goes back to the initial definition of what is money, right? It has to be generally accepted by everybody,
Yeah.
right? So we
Yeah,
went through this
absolutely.
trend of where we said, "Oh, we're going to switch from trade by barter, of course, to fiat." Or it wasn't.
Yeah.
We didn't go straight to fiat. We went to rock and
I mean, I
stones
guess
and
we'll call it
precious
representative
metals.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
representative
exactly.
money, right? And during that process, right, I think you might want to put up the next slide. During that process was when we started seeing this whole assumption of using religion or
Mm,
using states and power. Like, okay, we're doing trade by barter. Okay, we want you to be our chief. We want you to be our king. Because kings was never really big. It was something
yeah,
that eventually became something of the society. But then
right.
those in power started using that either through religion or through culture or through policy to start
Mm,
saying, okay, this is how we're going to trade forward. You just trust me as
mm,
the source of your coin, and then that eventually again ultimate power gets abused. So you have royalties, you have religion, you have nobility, given the right and the power to say, this is how we're going to change money. And then they started
yeah,
controlling that money. And through that, they were able to control the same people that gave them power
all right.
to run the money.
Jeez. So it's pretty much a continuous cycle of the general population trusting a certain entity, right?
Mhm.
Which should have integrity. Like,
A
say for
religion.
example, like this research which we saw here, or this piece, it's interesting that it's written by, and we found it on the BBVA website, right? So these are banks. I mean, isn't it interesting that we're taking history from banks websites and things
Themselves.
like that? And
Yeah, no, no,
the
it's clear. The Catholic
right,
Church approved slavery. That sounds slavery was a way of them making money. So
yeah,
again,
that was the thing
religion
for
and
sure.
money, hand in hand.
And they did worse. They did worse for sure.
Yeah.
But I think again, once we very much like we're seeing with this whole religion situation, right? Like we had the general public put their faith in what's supposed to be a trusted entity.
Hmm.
This trusted entity takes the power,
Hmm.
does whatever they want to do with it, right?
Hmm.
Um, alienates the people ultimately, and then this kind of takes us back into this cycle where we have to go into a revolution
Yep.
again. Now, the interesting thing about this one as well is that this cycle is applying to when you look at it from different angles, right? The cycle is really doing the same thing. When you're just looking at money, if you're just looking at evolution of power, it's like all of these things are just combining,
Yeah,
right?
I
It,
think I'm
it
starting to
happens one way or
realize.
another.
I
Go
think
ahead.
I'm starting to realize why I kind of enjoyed history so much in college was that it does kind of repeat itself. It might
Yeah.
be different scenario, but it's still the same repetition over and over again. And I
It
think
is.
we're going through one of those phases now that people just need to wake up and open their eyes and stop being too entertained to realize that we're going through another phase of history about to repeat itself, and
Yeah.
that folks just need to realize that and take action before we put an end to ourselves.
But I think what is also interesting about this time around is it seems that there is a combination of things happening at the same time, right? All going through this cycle. And so you have this struggle with money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like there is this cycle of money and how money has always kind of, especially with fiat currencies, right, where
Mm-hmm.
countries find themselves in a tough situation, they resort to money printing,
Mm-hmm.
right, and then there is a downfall, and then they have to rebuild every time, right? And this is something that Ray Dalio, right, and man of all people, I never thought I would see the day where Ray Dalio said something like cash is investing in cash is risky at this point.
Yeah,
It's
and
just risky.
you like to put some money in research for super red days.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So it's, and I guess you have to monitor what is going on, but looking at the conditions that we have right now, first of all, we have global economic downturn right now. So
Yeah.
usually when this happens, it's like a certain civilization, right? Say maybe like I say like you had the Dutch regime, right, which went through it. Then you had the was it was it a specific country in Europe? I think it was England. It was England, right? They had
Hmm.
a similar situation as well.
That's why we went to World War One, and World War Two,
Exactly.
and
But
World
the
War Two
interest
was one of those cycle changes as well.
exactly. And but the other interesting thing is it seems this time around it's the whole world. First of all, I won't
Uh,
ever say the whole world versus China, but it seems like it's the whole world, right? And China is it's interesting. I feel like we need to dig deeper into China to really understand what is happening there, because on the surface it just looks like yeah, all these terrible things are happening, but it's not too bad for them, given how they've been setting up their society coming up to now,
yeah.
right? But then we also have this technological revolution going on. We have Bitcoin, um, and it's just all of these things are happening at once right now.
Mm.
So let's dive a little bit into the money cycles here and just look at what has changed over time
Yeah.
and maybe what is changing now, and I guess what we can do about it as well. You know, and so one of the things that we've been reading recently, one of the topics that we've really been looking into, is Ray Dalio's research, right, or his study on history, which is the changing world order. Which, if you haven't seen it yet, or if you haven't read it, he actually has like a whole, I guess, a summary which he wrote on. Is it on LinkedIn? Yeah, he has it on LinkedIn. We'll drop the link below, and he definitely brings up some interesting points there. Wouldn't you say?
By the way, if you have not read this book called Principles, it's actually one of my favorite books. You should go check out that book. Also, one of
I
the
think
books
I've
I was
listened to the
reading,
book.
yeah, it's called Principles,
Yeah.
by Ray Dalio. It's also one of the books I read for the crash that we had during COVID. I was lucky to have read that book and was able to exit some of my positions and have them in reserves right before the crash. So I was very lucky with that. So I definitely need to
Right.
read this one to get ready for whatever else is coming out. But basically, I'll just do a quick summary because, of course, I'm sure you guys, you have a short attention span. So we'll just make it really quick. This cycles that repeat itself, right? We
Right.
have this big war just because of people want a revolution. They're super frustrated, right? And
Right.
then
Right.
we're going to create a new system, right? We can talk about what systems are later on. Then temporarily, then you have this temporary period of peace and prosperity,
Mm-hmm.
then slowly but surely, the human factors start coming into play. People start getting greedy. So the
Mm-hmm.
centralized control begins slowly but surely. And at this, and they come with this whole approach of, oh yes, give us the authority, give us the power, centralized control. We're gonna wipe out debt. We're gonna wipe out poverty. You know, We're gonna kill all the class walls, and we're gonna share
Mm,
this prosperity together. Right? That's how it all starts. It's all fine and dandy. We kind of had that in the 70s, after the World Wars, all the way through the 60s and 70s. 70s we finally had some kind of prosperity. And then of
right,
course, wealth was built. 80s and 90s, bottom boom, right? And then while the wealth is being created, right? So wealth, as always, because the people don't know how to manage money. This is part of what we're trying to do as well with Stack, is that we need
right,
to educate you on money. So because the people don't know how to manage the monies or their prosperity, money starts flowing to very limited ends, right? We might all have initially the same amount of money initially, but some people want to go buy a Mercedes Benz when they know they're $500 a month, or go spend all the
Mercedes
money and then
Benz.
transfer all the money to very limited ends, right? And then you start
Right,
seeing gaps between people and states. And
right,
then, because the state now start asking for more authority to say, okay, you guys know how to manage your money. We'll manage it for you. Then you start slowly seeing opportunity gaps. And then
right.
slowly but surely, um, yeah, slowly but
Dun
surely,
dun dun. What was that?
it's not COVID. It's not COVID. Slowly but surely, right? You're gonna
Okay,
start, seeing education becomes limited.
right,
Initially, tell you don't want to get your education. That's why you have, Harvard and Yale, Stanford, so super expensive to get into because, of course, it's for the limited.
right.
And then slowly, as you can see now, the debt for a lot of kids our
Mm,
generation is super high. Majority is coming from medication, right? So the debt ratio for the citizens start increasing.
right,
And government now come back and say, "Oh, we have a solution for you. Let's print some more money," right?
right,
Then you
right,
start,
right.
start seeing the money printing, right? Which, as you know, ever since we switched to fiat, money printing has now become the
Man,
gate to kind of,
standard operation.
kind of shut you up or act as if they're solving the problem, right?
Yeah,
And of course, innovations come into play. One of the innovations is the dot-com boom, right? Gives the general population an opportunity to build more wealth, right? So innovations comes in there, creep in there, kind of shake things around a little bit. And initially, innovation was way faster than the government and the regulations, which then
of
becomes
course.
a challenge, right? Now, we want to catch up the power back because when innovation comes, it brings more money, it brings more people up to the upper classes, and then the government is like, no, that's too much power. Let's bring it back in, and
Yeah,
then revolution picks back up again, and boom, that that gets closed.
jeez. So it seems like, just to clarify there, so it seems like there is just this continuous cycle, right, which has happened a bunch of times, where we have also the ability to do something different this time. So you have, it seems like there's always like this struggle at first within society, then there's a revolution, then you have a central power that comes in with a solution, right, and then they kind of get things under control a little bit. You now have organization, right, and then growth and happiness during that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But then when that happens, people get comfortable. And when they get comfortable, that's when you start seeing falling education, which affects productivity and trade,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then at that point, people start becoming dissatisfied and things like that because there is, or say, maybe it could be a disaster, like a natural disaster or a pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
right, which sends the economy into like this, into this downfall,
Or some war because of
or a
this too much
war,
inflation.
right,
Right? Everything's getting too expensive, so we gotta make up some kind of war
right.
to get us to spend money or give us a reason to print more money.
But then it seems that when that is happening to one economy, it seems that there is always a competitor on the horizon just waiting.
Yeah, yeah. So just like we were reading all that stuff about the dawn of civilizations and all that interesting stuff, there's
Right,
always a competitor on the sideline waiting for you to
waiting
screw
to
up
take
your
over.
civilization to take over. It's
Mm.
been like that since the
So
beginning.
then, in this case, then looking at the current times, right? We just related to current times. if America was the world power, and it seems to me that we're definitely there at that tipping point where things are gonna go downhill. I mean, if you look at education in America right now, I think we
If
can
you look,
all agree it's not the best.
if you look at past civilization, when they
Right.
overextend or
Mm-hmm.
they overextend their resources or their military,
Right.
then something happens. Either another civilization takes them over, or
Mm-hmm.
they personally take screw themselves over. And we
Mm,
might be doing that to the US dollar and the American economy right now.
jeez, it's scary. It's scary
I
because
mean, the intent of this show is not to scare people, but the intent of this show is
no, I
to
mean,
realize that this this looks too familiar.
yeah, it is familiar. It is familiar. I mean, it's scary things are scary things, right? And I think you just need to embrace it for what it is. But
Mhm.
the thing about it is, then what do you do about it, right? What is the solution, right, to get around something like that? But
Well,
we
to
also
solve
know
the
that
problem, though, to solve the problem, we have to understand the problem,
the
which is
problem
why we're
itself.
talking about the problem, right? So
This
part of
is
the
this is
problem
true.
is the systems that money and power create,
Yes.
right?
I was-
We now know that there are cycles of power, there are
Yeah.
cycles of money, right? We've seen money go through different shapes and form, right?
Right. This is true.
So now, but that money gives you power. That also has cycles, and those cycles have systems, right? Because there's a system that got
Right.
to make that cycle. Is the gear that makes those cycles work, right? So now, what
Absolutely.
are the systems that that actually causes the cycles? Which is now this next topic.
Hmm. Systems of money and power.
Yes, sir.
I feel like if I was a teacher, that's how I would introduce it. Systems of money and power. Well, I think we have spoken. I mean, I guess in the conversation itself, we have brought up some of the systems, right? The
Mm-hmm.
things that happen when you have, like say for example, when we talk about when we went from trade by barter to fiat,
Mm-hmm.
there was this system of people
Stories.
trying to
Yep.
accumulate as much as
States.
possible,
Yep.
right?
In the name of
And when
religion,
you,
in the name of states.
exactly, you know, states, religion, whatever the case may be, and then when you accumulate the most, obviously now you have the resources
Mm-hmm.
to inspire
Mm-hmm.
whatever change you want, right?
Yep.
So to get to affect change, and
Oh,
then what
something
happens? What
just clicked.
happens after that? What
Something
happens
just
after that
clicked.
when
So
people gather
remember,
all of this money? What happens?
oh man, do you remember when Obama was running for presidency? There was no way Obama was going to win that presidency if he didn't get money. There's too
Mm,
much money in government right now.
you know what is
Obama is
you
not
know
with that money.
yeah, you know what's interesting? The story about Kim I told you at the beginning of the show.
Hmm.
Um, it was actually under the Obama's administration where the MPAA, right, the Motion Pictures
What did you
Association.
think? What did you think they
Yeah,
got the money from? I mean, they had
exactly.
influence all the way to the White House.
And that's one thing I don't. That's one thing that I think is an issue when you have a group of um, civilians that can
No,
throw so much
there's
money at the
there's,
government that
there's no need
makes the
to
government take action on something. It's an
we
issue.
shouldn't separate civilians and government. Remember, government are paid civilians to do
Oh,
governing.
they're what would you call it? Civil servants, right?
Yeah,
Public.
same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But
Well, I
the
guess
money influence in government,
yeah,
in running governments. You know how
absolutely.
you can kill somebody and just get away with it because of you have money?
I mean, I don't know how that is like, but
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna do it, but
yeah, yeah, but no, I get you. I totally get you. I get what you're saying. But I think you're right. You're right about that. I just think to have so much money where you're able to influence government decisions, right, make things in your favor, right, and this is how we end up in this place where there's so much, there's such a massive gap, right, economically, you know,
mhm.
with education and a bunch of other things, where you just have like this 1% who have all the wealth, and then the rest of the world is just where they
Yeah.
are.
which
Yeah.
then now eventually causes a revolt and people want to fight back,
Yeah.
and then you want to put it into another civilization.
But then every time when that happens, that's when a new system is determined. Now, one thing that is interesting about it is because as we are reading about these things, right, and as we're doing our research to find out the history of money and everything that we're talking about right now, I found it really interesting, and it's because when you send this to me, a lot of this information is actually published out there by the same entities,
The banks themselves, the
the
banks are
banks.
telling you, the banks themselves are telling you that
So
they controlling you and you ain't doing nothing about it.
right. So when we talk about systems of money and power, I mean, just reading this here, you will learn a lot about the systems of money and power, and it tells you exactly what these people are doing. And this was written by the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Right?
Like,
We'll leave the link to the description. We'll leave the link in the description if you're interested in reading more about this stuff. But I just find it shocking, man. Shocking. I mean, this is the whole reason why we talk about education and educating yourself, right? Let me see. Let's roll down to page 20 here. If you do go look at the document, I'll definitely say swing down to page 20, where you will learn more about how these centralized systems come into place, right? To essentially create a solution which never leads to anything. And after, what was it? After World War II,
Mm-hmm.
what they describe here is exactly what happened, and that's the system that we're dealing with right now, right? We had this massive capitalistic situation, which, look, man, I think capitalism has been great. Okay,
Yeah.
I think that has been
It has benefits.
yeah, it's been beneficial, and I think it's awesome. It's gotten us to where we are right now, right? But before we got to this system, there was another system as well, which kind of ran its course, and then we got to a point where we had to switch over. And I think that we're just at that point where capitalism has been great, and it's now time for us to either modify, enhance, or completely change it.
Yeah, the banks themselves are asking, how did we
Right.
get to the point where we say that we are accepting paper that is not worth anything for
Exactly.
services and resources? How did we get
Yeah.
to that point? And I think the answer to that, I might be wrong, someone out there tell me if I'm
Mm.
wrong. The answer to that is that somebody accumulated so much power and they just decided, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Use paper.
So, I mean,
Just
more than
trust me.
likely,
Just trust me, use paper.
most of the time, that's what it is. Because I mean, I cannot think of a reasonable explanation
Yeah.
to just it's like you just roll up on someone and you're like, hey, this paper is worth this paper is worth a Lamborghini. Here, if
Two
you take this
hundred
paper, you can buy a
dollars.
Lamborghini. You know what I'm saying? Right? And how does that work? So now we have all of the systems that are in place, right? Centralized systems, or is it
Yep.
IMF,
Yep.
World
World
Economic
Bank.
Forum,
Yeah,
World
well,
Bank,
yep.
right? That kind of got into place and had just been essentially running the show, right? Full
Enforcement.
blown power.
Yep.
Exactly. And you see an example of this arrogance, especially during the was it 2008 financial crisis? It was
Yep.
where these guys now have the ability to print all of this money,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the one that really got me was the what did they call it again? Oh man, why did his name keep getting away from me?
Oh, the
When you monetize a loan, when you monetize debt that has already been out there. So because what happened was they created
credit default swap.
credit default swaps. Yeah, when they create a loan and then they take the risk of that loan and distribute it,
Yep.
right, amongst a bunch of different banks.
CDOs.
When I really took time to sit and learn about that, man, I was like, these guys are insane. What is this?
Yeah, exactly. But though, so first you give them the power to print
Right.
paper and enforce that as money, right?
Yeah.
Took away the gold standard. They
Yeah.
even went further because the government gave them that power because they influenced the government and they eventually got that power to the point now where they can say they can create any financial. They can create almost
financial
anything.
tool, you would call it?
Yeah,
Is that even a financial tool? That's not a financial tool.
derivatives.
Derivatives. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah. They
financial,
can
an
create,
asset class, if you will.
they can
That's what
create
it
anything
was.
anytime. You gotta
Yeah,
get like a level 6, 7, whatever before you can even touch any of those things.
this is
And then
true.
you have to be certified by them for you to get that level of certification. Anyway, long story short,
Yeah,
banks.
yeah. I think that is. I mean, that is, and when you had the housing crash and everything like that, I think it's just how unapologetic these guys were.
Oh, they're
Just
blaming it on the people. Why are you taking the
y-
loan that you can't afford? But you
yeah,
made it
yeah.
available. I want to live the American dream too.
I
You
mean,
made
they
the
were
loan
pushing it
available
on
to me, so
people.
I can take it.
They
But
created all
they
kinds
made
of
the most money
things.
out of it
Yeah,
before the crash,
yeah.
during the crash, and after the crash when the
And after
government
the
came to
crash,
rescue.
which it is horrible. But I'll also say this, man. This is the exact reason why people need to educate themselves, because some
Mm,
of those things is like, there is just like a basic level of, and of course I didn't, these are things I do not know myself, but after I learned about it, then I start understanding why it is important to have everyone learn about it, right? And this is part of why we do this. And it's just it's just one of those things where if there was that level of education, which kind of goes back to some of those uh, characteristics of the cycle, right? The money cycle, where society
mm,
becomes comfortable,
mhm,
the level of education kind of drops, productivity drops, right?
mhm.
And at that point, you have these people who are in control who can easily outsmart you. They don't even need to try,
They
right?
control the media, so they just push the media, the agenda out there, and you just
Exactly.
because you're born into it, you just think that it's normal. Just like
This is
everybody
normal.
walking around right now, just think that the current banking system is perfect, it's fine, nothing's wrong with getting 0.01%. Did you know what banks were intended to do initially when banks were first designed?
2.01%. That totally gets me every
Oh,
time, man.
people think it's normal,
Yeah.
right?
And the
So,
one that the one that shocks me the most is the idea of self-regulation.
oh, sure. So if you can self-regulate,
Right.
you can do fractional reserve banking, you can do
Yeah.
quantitative easing. You
Quantitative.
self-regulation.
The what these words, man. All these words that they quantitative easing. What is that?
Basically, we're
It's
broke.
just yeah.
So let us print more money to buy a bunch of other companies' assets to make it look like we have money and just keep
Mm.
buying and keep buying and keep buying and really we'll put bonds out there for other people to buy our debts.
Now, if they just came on TV and explained it like that, what exactly they're doing, who's going to be agreeing to that? But when you use the word quantitative easing, people are like, "Oh, that must be like a fancy word that you learn in school in Harvard or something,"
How do you
and it's
buy
absolute garbage.
how do you buy
Yeah.
hundreds of billions of dollars on a daily basis?
That
Where is that
that is the
money coming
shocking part.
from?
That is the shocking part.
Are
That
we,
is
are
the
we, are we, are we producing that money? Because that's what makes money valuable. That's one of the things that makes money valuable.
why do people not question it? Is you know what I mean? It's like, why do people not question it? And I think it's because of that cycle. People just give up. I mean,
Differently.
first of all, they overwhelm people with everything, and so people just become petrified. Really, they just shut down. They're not
So,
interested in looking into anything anymore, and then they just do whatever.
so if there is quantitative easing,
Yeah,
if there is the purchase of assets, what's
yeah.
gonna happen?
Everything crashes, man. It's done.
If
Which
the
is interesting
inflation
because that's exactly where we are right now, right? Where they've printed so much money and inflation is rising, and so if they were to taper on essentially cut back spending,
Mhm.
right, the market crashes. And so what is the alternative? The alternative is that, well, now you have to print more money. But with the way the system is set up right now, when they print out this money, it just ends up with the people at the very top.
Mhm.
It does not go into the hands of the people that actually need the money, right? Um,
Look at what happened after COVID.
yeah,
All the big
yeah,
banks, all the big companies got all the money. The little
yeah, they
money
did,
that you got, you end up spending it, goes back to their hands.
and it
Amazon
goes
got
back
all
to their
the money.
hands. So then it's like, what do you do? What do you do in a situation like this, right? Because I don't think they have an answer. They've not given us an answer. I mean, these people are, I mean, just it feels to me that they're just coming up with whatever they can to delay and delay and delay, and then maybe just pass over the issue to the next president, right? Because it seems this is something that has been happening forever, right? Where you have a leadership that does not do what they're supposed to do, and then when election comes around, they just pass on this horrible economy to the next leader, who will not take the necessary action to fix the economy, and then they just pass it on to the next person. I mean, the reality is, if we're gonna like go about it like the hardcore way and just pure, they kind of need to cut back on the spending. It's just what it is. They need to let the economy crash. It's
What
the only
uh,
way.
are Americans ready to suffer for maybe a decade, like Japan?
Mm. I mean, what other option do they have?
Print more money.
Because I think either way you look at it, it's tough times ahead.
Well, we got an option. I got an
What
option.
is what is that option? Bitcoin.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, we're also in that interesting situation where no other time in the past when there's been this crash, there's been a solution like this.
I mean, it came at the right time. It's so weird. Whoever this Yakamoto oh, I can't pronounce his name.
Satoshi
Satoshi Yakamoto.
Nakamoto.
Like,
Yes, close enough. Yeah, but Satoshi. I mean, I think this is just it came at the right time, man, and it's something you can tell. This is the thing you have to think about. I don't know if Satoshi was one person or if it was an organization, but
it might
let's
be a
say it was
banker.
one
I have
person.
a feeling it's a banker.
Okay, let's say it was a banker,
He
right?
knows he knows the inside and out of banks because banks rule the world. I'll repeat that
Yeah,
again. Banks rule the
this
world.
is this is true. I mean, this is beyond banking. I like to believe that obviously it from the financial standpoint, it's kind of rooted in Austrian economics, right?
Mm,
Fixed supply, hard money, right?
yeah.
And then if you think of all the other arenas of knowledge that you have to
So
build something like this, because it does not just handle money, it
money,
handles a bunch of things across the board,
governance,
right?
security, technology, Jesus,
Exactly.
computer networking.
Exactly. And this was built way back in 2008. It's been over 12 years, man, and it still stands. I mean,
I mean,
what else?
there's some
What else do
currencies
you
that
need to?
there's some currencies that did not even last a decade. So this one has lasted us a decade.
Exactly, right? So this thing has just been coasting by itself without anyone even messing with it, right? And I think that's one of the things that's very important, because uh, society decides what money is. People decide that something is valuable because they choose to find value in it.
Boom! You just said it.
Yeah,
The people.
yeah,
If the power can
yeah,
convince the people that it's not money, then it's not money. But if the people are educated to know that they decide what money is,
right.
then we'll go in places.
And I think I guess this is where we kind of sort of separate from people like, say, Ray Dalio, right? Because yeah, Ray Dalio he before he wasn't on the Bitcoin train, but
It wasn't.
over time, there's a point where you get to and you're like, it's just the reality that you're unable to find any other asset that has the qualities that Bitcoin has.
Mm.
Michael Saylor saw it way ahead of time.
Yep.
I mean, he's buying it like a madman.
My concern with him is that is it another grab for power, just like every other currency that have come along the way? Someone
Yeah, I
grabs
mean,
as much as
he wants
possible.
power.
So,
He wants power, but here's the thing. Let's say Michael Saylor buys, what does he own now? Things like one out of every 70 something Bitcoins. But let's say he has all of those Bitcoins. Then what? What can he do with it? He has a lot of resources. That is
I mean,
cool.
he can
You know,
vote. He can make a decision that controls.
right.
I mean,
So
he can sell
ultimately,
and make the market crash temporarily, but that's
that is fine. But guess what? If he sells it, what does that mean for us? We
I
get
go
to
to
buy
buy.
more for cheaper. That's it, right? He cannot change the way Bitcoin operates. You know,
Mm.
he cannot take power over Bitcoin. He's not going to do a 51% attack on it,
Hmm.
right? So it's just what it is. So I mean, if
So
we're able to just if I think if society was to adopt Bitcoin, I always wonder to myself, how would that look? I get it. People who say like it's not real money because it's still fluctuating and everything. Well, your dollar right now is not stable. the,
about to say,
the number still says one, but it's not able to buy what it was able to buy yesterday. So I don't know
true, at the
what you're
beginning
talking
of
about
last
in that
year, it wasn't
case.
number two.
Exactly. So um, and even I mean, again, like I said, even someone like Ray Dalio saying that the dollar is a risk. I mean, that says it all, you know. So cash is not the way. So I imagine then,
What's
what
the
would
way?
you say? What are some things that you would say you're really looking forward to see as Bitcoin adoption continues to grow?
Yeah, that's 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 a really good question for the audience, actually.
Right.
But people also got to understand what Bitcoin provides, and we
Mm-hmm.
will continue to repeat that as much as we can, so that you understand what this technology does and
Yeah.
how it takes fiat currency away from paper into
True.
digital, and then uses the technology advancements of being in the digital space to make money more efficient, remove
Absolutely.
the cheat code of power away from money.
Mm.
You can do power through governance and doing a job and distributing power, then using power and money to influence the masses, right? That's one of the things that
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin can do if we, the people, adopt and implement the actual white papers of Bitcoin. You know, um,
Yeah.
uh,
One of the cool things, one of the cool things I'm looking forward to. I think obviously the biggest thing right now that Bitcoin is really accomplishing is one of the things is the fact that it's, of course, it's the store of wealth, right, value and things like that.
mhm.
But it is eliminating banks, right?
You said it too heavily. We just talked about the banks and how they control the world. You're gonna take
Yeah,
away the core provider of the bank is actually the biggest service provider in the economy.
yeah,
All the
it
way down
is.
to insurance companies. Like you can do nothing without the banks. So
It
now
is. It is.
technology comes by.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is another one of those revolutionary cycles again, where some
Right.
technology comes by like drones or metal or the
Right.
internet or electricity and then wipes out old money. So now bank is the biggest old money.
I think bank is the old.
Bitcoin,
Is banks are medieval.
yeah.
You
Now
know.
Bitcoin wants to come
um.
out. Oh my God, that's the
Yeah.
biggest. That's a big undertaking.
Yeah.
That's the biggest undertaking.
To
Big
take out
biggest.
banks.
That's exactly what it looks like it's about to do.
I mean, I think it's already doing it. I think it's already destabilizing banks.
But
I
I
think
think
that's
banks
not
are trying to
even.
adapt and try to say, "Oh, I can offer you Bitcoin. You don't, you
Yeah.
don't,
I
you
mean.
don't replace me. I
Yeah.
can
But banks. What
give you a
does
little
that? But
piece of it."
then, what does that mean? It means that the banks are no longer fiat controlled. They're Bitcoin. Bitcoin has infiltrated the banks. It's fine. I'm fine with banks buying Bitcoin. That's cool. I don't know what they're gonna do with it because I can
Go and stake
hold
it
my
somewhere
own.
else.
I can hold my own Bitcoin and I can borrow against it,
Hmm.
right?
Without the help of the bank.
Without the help of a bank, without selling it, I can do it directly from my phone, right?
Hey, bankers,
And
close your
then
ears.
there you go. I can right. Let's say we go to other coins. I mean, of course, smart contracts are coming to Bitcoin, which allow you to do much more like lending and other things. But
Hmm.
let's say I moved over to Ethereum. I can stake it. Right? I'm holding Algorand. I can stake it. I can borrow it. Right.
Hmm.
So it's like,
I
why
can
would
lend it.
I? Why would I go to a bank, and do all of these things when I could just keep accumulating my Bitcoin? And the more Bitcoin I accumulate, I have more borrowing power against my Bitcoin.
Shit, you want to live
Right.
on the what's worse? Why do I need
Right.
to drive to a bank or call a bank and be on the bank for a phone? Why the bank is burning a whole bunch of energy just to be a
Yeah.
physical structure somewhere? Then I
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
burn my gas in my car. And then you're talking about Bitcoin is not more it's not more efficient when the
Mm.
whole several multiple structures around the world is
And
killing
is it,
energy and something is just running a server in some server space and you're telling me that that's worse than what banks are
ex-
doing?
what's interesting? The other thing too is banks are not open on the weekends. Bitcoin is.
24
Oh
7,
man, this
baby.
is funny, man. Yeah,
24/7.
absolutely. I mean, and I think, look, man, it's you can go down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin. You can come across people who are literally cryptographers, man, extremely smart, knowledgeable about this stuff. I don't think that the general population. It's great to learn all of those things, but I don't think the general population is wanting to be cryptographers. So
That's fine.
this is why I think we keeping this conversation super easy and keeping it
Yeah.
very light in a way that
And relevant.
anyone can understand it.
Yeah.
I think that that's where the value is, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, crypto. And we've been in crypto for what, almost 2 years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, now we're able to do a bunch of things easily, but from the get go,
The early
it's not
days,
that
man.
easy.
We
Yeah,
threw money
it's not
away.
that easy.
It was hard.
So yeah, so it's about getting people to at least get a basic understanding of what this thing is
Mm-hmm.
and how we can help them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, obviously it's not for everyone. We get it, but if you're looking at it just mathematically, it makes sense. You know.
Some people say some people say they don't like maths. Okay, don't look at the math aspect. Just look at the history aspect. Just go read some books. You don't like maths? Okay,
Yeah,
do history. Just do English.
absolutely.
Just do
Right.
the English part of it.
Now, here's other interesting thing as well, because this is not to say that this is just going to go by without any resistance from the government or from old school power, right? We can see across the wall, governments are now trying to create a CBDC
Oh yeah.
to battle
So
Bitcoin.
it makes sense. It makes sense. You're not gonna get kicked out the fight without getting in the fight. So of
Right,
course they got the central banks, which the people, which they don't even know, they gave them the power, the authority to,
right.
and they eventually corrupted that and used that to influence it. They gotta fight back. So of course CBDC is gonna give Bitcoin a fight.
Yeah,
Then as the infringement of privacy start kicking in with CBDCs, people will start seeing the benefits of Bitcoin. Because governments
mm,
are sniffing into it every single day. Uh, they're basically sniffing into every single thing that we do with our lives, which
right.
was not the authority that we, the people, gave to government initially. But they're doing all of this in the name of security, and all that interesting stuff that they do. But I think they just do it just to tax you more. The
I mean,
government just well,
it's about power. Remember,
boom, money, power,
right?
and Bitcoin. You're right.
Money, power, and then you control the society.
Yeah,
But I think that if I can just sum up my thoughts on this one here, right, as we
yeah,
come to the end here.
yeah.
First of all, CBDCs, okay,
Mm,
it's interesting, but we know that it's like it has a very dark side to it.
mm.
Personally, I'm not interested in it. I hope it fails. you know, I hope it fails. But well, okay, maybe it's not going to fail because ultimately cash is physical cash is not really where it's at anymore.
Change also takes time.
Yeah, if it works, right, and then I think it can just work as a dollar, and then we can move or again borrow against our Bitcoin to spend, and then pay that back.
Yep.
That would be like almost the function of a credit card, which eliminates
Basically,
credit cards, right? But then on top of
banks.
that, I also think that where we are right now, right? Let's say as America, when you look at the competition around the world and how they have poised themselves for the
Mm,
future, right? Like let's say China, for example, and the things that they've been doing over a period of time. I mean, this even went to when you look at things like the one child only
mm,
law that they had there.
mm,
That worked out. You know, it's now they have this environment where they have a bunch of really productive people, right?
mm.
A super productive generation and extremely smart. But of course, it also has it has its downsides, right? Because now there's like way more men than women and things like that. But ultimately, if you look at it, man, that is a problem that can be solved, right? They're just gonna have more kids and then train them like they're training the kids right now. I think
At the
I
age of
think
eight.
we yeah, exactly. At the age of 8, right? Soldering and everything, creating motherboards. How do we get around that? You know,
In America?
as yeah, it's America. Like, how does America get around that? Because it's you're talking about these people have been planning this out for a very long time, right? And it's not it's materializing, and we see it now. And it's not just like something where you can be like, oh crap, let's go back. But it's about what kind of actions can people take right now, right, to protect themselves. Or at least, well, let me never say to protect themselves, because this situation is not just an individual situation, it's everyone. What can all of us do? What can everyone do to, I guess, soften the blow of what is coming? Because it's coming for sure. Like, the stock market, I think that's going to totally crash.
Man, I have a lot of money in that thing too. I'm still like looking at some terrible losses, and I'm just like, ah, but what are you gonna do? You live and you learn, and then you pick back.
Maybe restructuring the portfolio, selling some things, and then coming back in when it.
Yeah, you know? Yes, that's what I'm gonna have to do. I need to spend some time on that.
Well, yeah, maybe just temporarily, at least trim. You know, maybe temporarily hold on to some cash. And then
these guys are like 7% losses in some of these option positions. But oh well. And there were lip calls too, which is our percentage loss. Yeah. And I am in the money, but I'm still losing money.
That's the thing. Whoever came up with the idea of percentage loss, man. And shout out to the banks for that one. Insane.
Yeah.
Those are the sort of ridiculous things that they take. But here's what I would say, man. I think as a community, as a whole, we all need to come together, right? To educate ourselves, really understand what is going on, hold the government accountable for what is going on, right? Get some discipline in there. Does not matter which side you're on, because there's a massive divide within the country itself, which is one of those things in the cycle. You have a divide within the population itself.
Yeah.
So definitely educate ourselves, hold the government accountable. Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, you know, it's like it's straight to the point. Like we're doing part of it now, which is educating and sharing. But once you know, share with somebody else as well. So share this video with a friend of yours to say, okay, you know what, guys, let's pause a little bit and ask a question. You know, I was saying the other day, there was a research that was made. I think it was a bunch of monkey that they put in the cage, right?
Yeah.
And they lived in that cage together, but then they had kids in the cage. So that was they were introducing what you call it? What's the right terminology? Where either I can't put it together. Someone out there probably knows it. So maybe they were
introducing something to the monkeys.
Yeah, they were introducing some kind of substance to the monkeys. So the first generation knew that substance was terrible, right? So they pushed back against it, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember that for research, but I'm just trying to illustrate it. Basically, that's what's going on here as well. So by the third generation of monkeys in that cage, they already thought it was normal. Like, okay, normal. Yeah, they did not know that generations before them fought against it. That's what's going on here. But now that you know, ask questions. That's part of development. That's part of growing. Actually, ask questions. And we're asking questions, and we're asking you to ask questions, and we're telling our governments to be more honest to do their role in governing the country.
Yeah.
And maybe we can divert this current history that's about to play itself out again. If we're not careful, we can literally run America down, where for sure China's going to be the next world power.
Imagine that war. I feel like most people don't want to say, but
are we going to have another war pretty soon?
No, I mean not necessarily a war. I mean, when it comes to war, I think that it's more likely going to be places like because these are tensions that have been rising before COVID even happened. Say China and Taiwan,
Iran,
right? Yeah, Iran is. Yeah, so I know like the situation with China and Taiwan, right? They were separated before, but the agreement was that at some point there is going to be a peaceful reunification, and that right now China wants to reunite and Taiwan does not want to, and that's the issue.
It's even worse. There are two Chinas. There's Hong Kong and there's China. China, please don't block this off. But Hong Kong belongs to China. That's what China believes. Hong Kongs are like, no, we were colonized by the British. We want to keep our British mindset. China, you do your own thing, we'll do our own British way of doing stuff. Then it becomes more complicated. Again, it goes back to money and power. It's just,
Exactly.
but then if
Yeah.
you can fix the money aspect of it, maybe we can fix the power aspect of it. But Bitcoin aims to fix both, which is so weird. What the hell is this guy that thinks he can fix it? Like, you're the god or
Hey,
something?
Bitcoin is the beast, man. That's what
Yeah.
I say. You know what I mean? And I think it's definitely going to play a major role in our society moving forward, right? Looking
Yeah.
at, because you could say that the current system is wrecked, man. It does not work anymore. It does not
Well,
work
that was
anymore. I don't see
that
how
was
these
why we
people are
had
going to solve
the
it.
old Black Lives Matter movement. The black people said it wasn't working for them, and then you
Mm,
had the old Occupy Wall Street, where they said the banks wasn't working for them, but they shut them
right,
up. Um,
right.
Now we're going to probably have another big Democrat versus Republican war in the next elections. You guys don't get it. It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's your government not doing its job. It does not matter who's up there.
Yeah, it does not matter who's there. It does not matter who's there. Jeez, man, listen. These are some heavy things, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, I think there are solutions, and I think that there's a lot of bright minds out there. But let us know in the comments. What do you guys think? Right? What are some things? Well, what do we want to say? What are some things that you're looking forward to with decentralization? Right? How do you think Bitcoin might help our current economic situation? For sure. And I don't know if I want to ask this. No, let me. I've thought of a different way to ask this, because the way I was going to ask it before was not going to be great. What can America do to revive itself? Or in the words of the most hated president
Yeah.
and the most loved president for some people,
Yeah.
what can we do to make America great again?
Good question.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because I don't know. I just feel like it's time for us to ask that question, man. Because it's just the economic situation we live in, and as much as we all have fun and take a lot of things lightly, right? A lot of joking on social media and things like that, I think our generation could potentially live through an era that they did not see coming for themselves.
Well, right now they're kind of the brokest ever.
This is very true.
Yeah,
is
broke
very
as
true.
hell. You better fix that with
This-
buy some Bitcoin.
This whole
Not
generation,
financial advice.
right? Because and that's a fact, because previous generations before us were able to get a house, get a car, multiple cars, right? Multiple kids, go on vacations, whatever they wanted to do.
Yep.
And then our generation comes through, and it's like,
I'm too broke. Too much
Yeah.
colored debt.
yeah, nothing is affordable, right? Everyone is in debt. So, well, double O, man. I don't know about you, but I had a fun time having this conversation. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Can I say something though?
Go ahead, man.
I know you were talking. I caught you mid sentence.
Okay.
Who said Bitcoin was gonna reach 42,000, 40,000? It touched 39,000 today. By the way,
Oh, did it make it to 39K?
yeah,
Oh,
39. And I think we have that dead cross going on right now. So
Oh, there's a death cross situation?
hey,
Oh, dang.
Look,
Well,
look,
okay.
check.
Well, look, man. Let's since we are here. Okay.
just when we thought we were about to close this off.
Hey, since we are here, wait, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, please follow us on social media.
Yep.
We are on Facebook at Stackfin. We are on Twitter at Stackfin as well. My favorite person to reply on there is Peter Schiff, because he does not believe in Bitcoin. And every day he keeps saying Bitcoin is going to go to zero. Well, I hope it goes to zero. I'll sell my whole life and put it into Bitcoin. I'll say that. Of course, subscribe, please share the video. Okay. And of course on Instagram we are Stack Crypto as well. So let's go back to this Bitcoin situation that we're looking at here, Double O, because look, man, I don't know how many times we've done this TA on Bitcoin, and ever since last year, was it since last year?
Is there?
For most of the year, as we were doing our TA, we were in line with most analysts out there, if you want to call them that. And then we got to a certain point where they were all going for this 100K situation, and we could not keep going because our TA was telling us that this is looking different. My oh my, you're right. Bitcoin hit 39K. Didn't we call that? No, we didn't. We have our support line at 38K.
Yeah.
Wow. So we could see 38K potentially.
Possible. Tried it.
Did you average down? Drop it in the comments below. Did you average down? Okay, let us know. Wow, that is dang.
And that candle right there is looking bearish.
Dude, I think this is a massive opportunity, man. These people need to hurry up and pay us, man.
Yep.
The job we're speaking of. Let me clarify that one. But no, absolutely. I think that Bitcoin is probably going to be hanging around there for a while. Definitely want to buy a lot more. You know? Yep. Well, that's all we have for this one. Double O. Any final thoughts, sir?
Oh.
What's that?
Someone's probably looking at us like, how the hell are they buying those coins, buying Bitcoin when it's going down? It's the mindset of wealth. You buy when everything is red.
Yeah,
when everybody's
buy low and sell high. Buy low and sell high.
Simple as that.
Yeah. It's really interesting how that works, man. Because I mean, we've all battled with it, man. We've all battled with it. We've all chased things, and you really have to train your mind. It's counterintuitive, but you know, people get excited, right? They're feeling good when things are going up, things look green, and they want to start buying then. But once you get over the sadness and slight depression that comes with watching your portfolio going negative, and you start looking at it as more of buying things on sale, buying something that you believed in the first place for cheaper than you bought it before, and then giving yourself a good time horizon, Abi.
Time in the market.
Then you have a winning formula. Is what I'm saying. So, anything else before we close this one out, sir?
Not financial advice, but thanks for watching.
Hey, until next time, Brazen out.
Double O out.